Hi guys, welcome back to Just Talking, where I talk out you news sometimes listen. So today we're doing a summer guide and review of Blackpool Pleasure Beach as I recently visited on the 3rd of August. And if you do like this sort of content, make sure to like, comment and also subscribe. And let's get into the queue times and whether or not it's worth getting a speedy pass. So queue times for most of the rides when I went and still are now between 20 minutes and also an hour. Speedy Pass guests could skip those queues with a digital wait time of about 12 minutes. That was the average queue time for a lot of things. And of course, Speedy Pass, if you get standard, which I'll discuss the prices of later, you do have to wait the same amount of queue time, but you don't actually have to stand and wait in the queue. You can go to the exit once the timer has ended and get on the ride from there. So you can actually go and sit and eat some food for 10-12 minutes, and then you can quickly hop on the ride rather than to stand in a line. So Icon and the big one had queues of about half an hour most of the day, so that made it sort of the shortest queue time when I went, and they were running the maximum of 3 trains, and the throughput is always great on these rides, so there's no real worry about not getting on these 2 courses, because if you have the patience to wait about 20 minutes, then you'll be fine. Icon's queue lasted 25 minutes for me, and the big one lasted 35, so they weren't too bad, and the rides are great and worth it. So Nickelodeon Land had similar wait times, but it was larger for Rugrats River Ride towards lunchtime, because in the summer you do get temperatures of upwards of 18 degrees, so it is a very attractive ride because it does get you pretty wet. And also Dora's World Voyage, because that has quite a long run time, and it doesn't run the most amount of boats, and doesn't have a very great capacity. But if you do want to wait for that, then the queue was about half an hour, I would say. And also the queue is extended as well, because I can't use one in the station at the minute due to some restrictions. But for Splash Bash, the other water ride in Nickelodeon Land, that queue wasn't as bad and it took me about 10 minutes. But for Rugrats, it was about half an hour, I would say. And all dark rides had about a 30 to 40 minute wait from just about the start of the day, because some guests do get let in earlier because they are a hotel guest. And of course that stayed the same throughout the whole day, but that excluded Wallace and Gromit, Thrill-O-Matic, and that was an hour for about the whole day until the end when I got on it in about half an hour, 40 minutes. So the standard fast pass is £25 on top of your initial ticket price, which is £30 for kids and £34 for adults, and VIP is an additional £50, but the perks of VIP is that it cuts the wait times down by 90%, so you don't actually have to really wait for a timer to go, and you can just hop on it straight away. So if you do want to get on a lot of rides in a day, and you are on that 10am to 5pm time slot, then VIP might be a good option for you. So for the entertainment offering, the Hot Ice shows were running every day apart from the usual Sunday date. They never do shows on a Sunday. At 2:30pm was, I believe, the first showing, and the cheapest tickets were being offered at £10. On the day that we went, they were actually offering free tickets for the 2:30 show. So they might do that on different dates, but it might just be because the park was incredibly busy on the day that I went. And also it's really hot, and getting into a nice theatre area where it's nice and air conditioned might have been a good way to diffuse the queues and also get some entertainment going. But of course, £10 per ticket is not the worst price ever, because it is a really great show with some really great dancing, costumes and music that the Pleasure Beach actually composes itself. So I would say it's a great show to go to, and it's appropriate for all audiences. So the Dancing Fountains, which also plays music, was taking place every 30 minutes outside of Grand National. Here you can see the old Trauma Towers building. That of course is now AstroTurf, and because of some of the larger queue times in the summer, they have actually put some metal barriers out, so then you can actually queue on the AstroTurf, and there are picnic benches. Of course, information on what you can bring for a picnic is on the website if you'd like to check that out, because there is limited food offerings for what you can bring into the park, but there is a lot of restaurants, and I'll get into them in a minute. So the character meet and greets are happening at scheduled times throughout the day in Nickelodeon Land. This includes Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, SpongeBob characters, and also Paw Patrol. And of course, you can do them for free, but for additional photographs, that does actually cost you a price, but it's not too extortionate. Late night riding on Saturday 6th of November will have fireworks. I suppose that's not necessarily in the summer season, but of course a lot of the late night riding events will be happening through the summer because, people want to be able to go out of the park to cool down, and some of the queues can be quite big, so it can be nice to have extended hours. Of course, a lot of the hours have now been extended to 7 p.m. instead of 5 p.m, so that's not too bad. And that is the only one that will actually have fireworks. And every other late night riding will have live music by the Dancing Fountains, by FY4 Club DJ. Of course, they will use lighting effects during the fountain shows, and that'll be happening from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. on every late night riding. If you want to check out the dates for that, you can online. So not every single day will be late night riding. It's about every week or so. And let's get into the food availability side of things. So the store with the largest wait times, in fact, was the ice cream and refreshment stand by Wallace and Gromit's Thrill-O-Matic. I was quite surprised at that because normally you can go and get a nice freshly served ice cream from there, and the ice cream from there is really nice, and always the drinks are nice and cool. But it was actually queuing right the way down to the entrance, not the entrance of the station, to Pleasure Beach Express, because they've changed that to up by the top where Wallace and Gromit is, just by the queue for Rugrats Lost River Ride, which was quite long at that point, and just by the entrance to Fairly Odd Parents Taxi Spin, it was quite a long queue, but that's probably because of the sun. But there is other places where you can actually get ice cream, not fresh serve, because, that's really the only one of our supposed two, I think, stalls that does offer fresh soft-served ice cream. But you can also get ice cream from the Avalanche shop, I believe. I did get an ice cream from there, so I'm not too sure what I'm saying, I believe. But Burger King was also popular, but that's to be expected. It is a really nice burger chain, and of course, despite the queues being a little bit bigger, between about 10 and 30 minutes, the food quality is really nice. And of course, it's always great to be able to sit on one of the two floors or out on the chairs outside and look out onto Icon, Steeplechase, Big One, and also the arch of Big Dipper as it comes over the pathway. So it's always nice to get sat down there and have a nice view. Of course, for other restaurants, you can at times book into the Blackpool Casino Tower restaurant. I believe it's called the White Tower restaurant. That is, of course, more reserved dining, and it's quite formal. And I'm not too sure if that's open at the minute, but if you do want to check that out, you can look that up online. There is also Big Pizza, which is by the Moon Crater. Well, it's underneath it, in Nickelodeon Land, and that offers create your own pizza for kids, and also a variety of adults' pizzas in there. And you do have a few other food stalls. And all fresh donuts and popcorn were available, and they're planned to be for the rest of the season. As well as other traditional British foods such as fish and chips. You did also have crepes from France, and that mainly is just by the entrance to Big Dipper. So if you want to check that out, you can over there. They have some really nice fresh food, and of course the donuts are always made so they're piping hot, but not too hot that you can't put them immediately in your mouth. And I'd recommend that if you are at the park, maybe skip the Krispy Kreme donuts and maybe go for a fresh one, because they do also offer Nutella sort of spread on top of your donuts. So if you do want that, then you can definitely pick that up. So I'd recommend getting all the fresh things, because a lot of the produce used in making these foods are actually fresh Lancashire produce. That's what they list on the website, and that's what they take immense pride in. Of course, not all ingredients can be sourced locally, but wherever they can, they do, so the food tastes really nice and fresh. And also, all you can drink was on at £10 per bottle. Of course, you do have to pay separate for all you can drink cold and all you can drink hot. But all you can eat is not available at the minute. It used to be, but of course, I'm not too sure when they will bring that back. All you can drink cold gives you access to things like Pepsi Max, Tango, and also certain fruit cordials and things like that. And all you can drink hot is basically teas, coffee, hot chocolate, and of course none of these two all-you-cans include any alcoholic beverage. You're not allowed to bring any alcohol into the park, and I believe they hardly sell any apart from in the bars. So they are very controlled on what sort of beverages you can drink and bring into the park. So is it good for families? Like, is it worth going in the summer with kids? Because of course there is always the Halloween season where they do Nick or Treat. We get to go around and see all your favourite Nick characters and get sweets and dress up and get rewards and things. And, you do also have the February times where it's a lot quieter. So queue times can get large, so younger kids need to be a bit more patient. Of course, not all of them have massive queue times, especially the Backyardigans Pirate Adventure ride. That was a walk-on queue all the way around the day, because it does have a pretty good capacity, and that's a very appropriate ride for kids. It's not thrilling, but it's just nice and fast, and it's a great ride for kids. The Krusty Krab Order Up did get quite a large queue. To say it is a small little drop tower for kids that only lasts maybe a minute or two. But I suppose if kids like it, then they can do that. Splash Bash always had a nice queue. There was maybe 10 minutes to queue for that, and you do get about 3-4 minutes on the ride, and it does get you pretty wet. So in the summer, this is a really great ride. Of course, some of the other queue lines were pretty big, like Dora's, that was big. But the only thing is I'm not too sure what's going on with Nick's Streak at the minute because it hasn't been open for quite a while. And it keeps on breaking down and things and not being opened. So I'm hoping that will get reopened, so there's no guarantee if Nick's Streak will be open during your visit. So regular meet and greets with popular characters are for free, so you can go up and meet the characters, give them a hug and things, but pictures do cost a manageable price. I believe a print-out picture is about £10 if you want it in a frame and £5 if you want it in any really other form of medium. You can get snow globes, key rings, and a variety of other picture frames. I do have a picture of when I was younger and I went to the park, but I wasn't that young, albeit, but the prices aren't that bad, and also they do come in a great quality and they will last. There is a wide variety of rides, including those that you can cool down on, and that includes the Rugrats River ride. That's really great for getting very wet because, believe it or not, despite its small exterior, it does actually get you very wet. And it is really fun because, there's not great scenery or anything, but it's a nice relaxing ride, and then you do get quite a bit wet at the end, and it's a nice bit of fun, and you can always watch other people go around it. And also, the mentioned Splash Bash. That's where you basically fire some guns at other people, water guns of course, and you get really wet and you can squirt at people who are watching on, and there is some sort of squirty guns at the side that you can use, but watch out if you don't know about this. When you actually are on the ride, you can squirt those people in those little windows, and also I wouldn't recommend having your phone out next to the queue line because people will squirt you if you are looking onto the ride or if you are near it. So I wouldn't recommend having a mobile device or any form of electronic by that ride, or any sort of plush toys that might get wet. So that's just one recommendation. But it's really great for getting cooled down, and it's a really nice area if you just want a few small rides. There are also lots of good dark rides for younger kids. I suppose the Ghost Train could be considered scary in some ways, but I would say it's not the worst thing in the world. It's manageable, and always it is fun to get a little bit of a good scare, and I've never seen a child come off it terrified, and I've seen kids as young as 6 be on this ride. And also there is food that satisfies a small sweet tooth. There is a lot of ice cream offerings and smaller boxes of sweets such as Nerds, and also little candy pizzas that are quite manageable and you can split into little pieces. And also food that provides the nutritional content, such as, like the organic produce that they have there, locally sourced food. So there's no real issue if you want things to have special dietary requirements either. So there's no real issue with kids coming to the park. I would say it's definitely a recommendation. Of course, if your child is more patient, then it's better, because at times queue lengths can actually be to a point where it can get a little bit boring, so in the queue line. But I suppose you can always have your phone out in the queue depending on which ride you're going on. Splash Bash, you might want to keep that away. But, if you have a phone and you can put a cartoon on, then that's great. If you are near a ride near the meet and greets, then you can always watch onto that. But some of the ride queues can get quite big, and I'd always recommend going online and checking the queue times on there, because especially with Nick Streak, it's hard to tell how long it will take, and sometimes Nick Streak can have queues of above an hour, which is pretty big, and I wouldn't expect kids to want to wait in that. But I'd say it's definitely a recommendation to go to the park in the summer because it's nice and hot and there's a lot of different things to do. And I'd say it's still acceptable so long as your kid can suffer through a queue line. So the ride and merchandise offering is of course strong as always. When I visited, Nickelodeon Street was, as I've mentioned, closed and has been closed on multiple occasions before and since. So, that was really the only ride that stayed closed. When I actually came to the park, Wallace and Gromit did actually break down. They didn't mention what had happened to the ride. It must have been something pretty unfortunate if they had to close it before it even opened. But then it did actually reopen at about lunchtime. So if you do come and see that a ride is broken down or a ride is closed, there is always a high chance that it will actually reopen. Unless you do actually see the train cars in the station and there's just one of it and it's sat dormant and there's no one there. That's when you've had it confirmed that it's not going to reopen. But if there's staff members about, then it most likely has just been fixed. All attractions, excluding during, of course, breakdowns and weather closures, because that is inevitable with a big one. If there does happen to be a storm after a long period of heat, of course, the big one will close. Will be open, apart from Impossible, which is the walkthrough attraction, which features illusions. I don't even think that was open last year. It's a bit unfortunate that it hasn't been open in quite a long time. But I suppose it wasn't exactly the most astounding and popular attraction, but it's always nice to have a walk through a nice funhouse style attraction. Not too sure when that will reopen. And Valhalla, because that is currently going through its refurbishment, set for opening in 2022, so that'll be great to have a ride on next year. There is lots of merchandise available from the Nick shop, which is pictured here. With new Paw Patrol merchandise, of course, with the upcoming film, there is a lot more merchandise coming into the shop. And of course, the prices are as they'd normally be. Some are a little bit cheaper than you'd normally expect. And of course, it's really nice to come out with a little bag of things. Of course, there is always a Wallace and Gromit shop, which features merchandise from that franchise. So if you do want to pick up a Gromit or a Wallace teddy, then you can definitely do that. But if kids really do like the Nickelodeon characters that much, then they can go into this massive shop and pick out any sort of play set, accessory. There's a lot of stationery, teddies and clothing. There's a wide variety of options for both kids and adults if you choose to buy something from there. All merchandise shops are expected to open on all days. There'd be no reason for them to close. And they will provide ride-themed merch. There is, of course, still the Avalanche merchandise selling, which has all the winter-style jumpers, so you can still pick that stuff up for, when it gets to the off-season in December and November. And, of course, there is still the ride parts in the Kiss Me Quick shop underneath Fly Machines, and the Noah's Ark shop does provide a pickup service for orders placed before 4pm. So if you do want to go around the park and you've seen a piece of merchandise that you'd really want, you can go up to the counter and say, I'd like to pick this up, later on when the park shuts. And if you do place that order before 4pm, they'll take that piece of merchandise and put it in the Noah's Ark shop. So as you leave the park, you can go and you can pick that up and take it home with you. So then you don't have to worry about going back to a car or getting any sort of storage on you to make sure that that merchandise stays in good quality and, you don't lose it. So don't worry about trying to leave merchandise anywhere because that is, in fact, completely free of charge and the staff are happy to provide it as well. And yeah, that's really it for this video. I do hope that this provided you some insight as to whether or not you should visit during the summer. I would recommend that you do. Of course, at times it is annoying to wait in the queues, especially when Wallace and Gromit's Thrill-O-Matic did actually peak at an hour wait time. But I suppose if you can sit through those queues, then it's definitely worth it. And the rides are worth waiting for. And when you do see a larger queue, I wouldn't just give up on it immediately because the thing is I saw the River Caves queue and thought, I don't really want to do this. And in fact, I waited about 25 minutes, which was the online wait time. And, I'd waited those 25 minutes and I really enjoyed the ride. And I'd recommend just getting in the queue because it will actually feel longer than it is. You'll probably wait 10 minutes and think that it might have been half an hour, but especially if it's Grand National or River Caves, those are the best ones to queue in my opinion, because when they have the half an hour fountain shows, you get a great view and the music is incredible. And I'd say that's definitely worth waiting in those queues for, because you do get to see the show and also get on a great ride as well. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it provided some insight. If you would like, you can check out my new website, by clicking on the link that's in my About page and also on my channel header. That has some fast facts from Blackpool Pleasure Beach and also my latest article, which is about why advanced dark rides don't necessarily make good ones, and also some other information about my channel too. So if you'd like to check that out, please do. And I hope you enjoyed this review. And this was Just Talking. Bye bye.